Hey, all you law business owners. Thank you for tuning into another video with us. You know me, Chelsea Williams, founder of Core Solutions Group. I've personally made it my mission to bring about financial enlightenment to law firm owners all over the U.S. through outsourced accounting, tax, and cash management services. So many variables play into your business numbers, but it's not all about the bottom line. We acknowledge that there are a number of professionals that you need to have on your team at the same table and working together on behalf of your financial future. We work with retirement planners, specialized tax experts, banks, and today health insurance experts in an effort to get all of these key players together and working in the same direction for you. Today is one of the most anticipated videos as so many firm owners are asking questions around health insurance. We've seen a lot of change in this arena over the last few years, and we've got someone here today who's going to help us understand exactly what your options are and how to determine the best fit for your situation. In the legal industry, it's becoming more of a challenge to recruit and keep skilled attorneys when competing with big law. So often, firm owners look to employee benefits as a way to attract and keep talent. Today, we're excited for the opportunity to speak with Pamela Beaton. Pam has been in the insurance world for almost 17 years, so she is a wealth of knowledge on this topic. And now, before we start, I just want to clarify something. Health insurance is very much like financial advisors in that when you are dealing with a professional who represents a company like Wells Fargo, New York Life, these companies have prepackaged products that these representatives have access to in order to sell. And sometimes the incentives behind those products can cause a representative to push a specific product over another. Now, when you find someone like Pam Beaton, because the health insurance market industry is very similar in that some agents, based on the company that they represent, have these prepackaged products to sell their clients. Pam, on the other hand, is in a situation where she does not have a company that kind of puts these packages together and says you can sell this, this, and this. Pam, and I'll have her explain this better here in a little bit, but Pam has the ability to pick from a plethora of choices, not limiting her to these packaged solutions based on your situation. So allow me to introduce Pam. Pam, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Pam Beaton. I'm with Health Markets, Health Insurance. I'm out of Bloomington, Normal, Illinois area. I have been doing this, like she said, almost 17 years. I love what I do. I love helping people. The biggest thrill really is honestly helping small business owners figure out how to get benefits at a more affordable rate than what they've been doing. So,
absolutely, which is such a huge need right now, for sure. So let's just jump right in, because I know there's a lot of really good information that we need to get to. So let's start with, what are some of the changes that have happened recently in the healthcare industry, and what should business owners know about those changes and how they affect them?
So obviously, a lot of us know about the Affordable Care Act. Small businesses fought back and won some. They won some good stuff with the federal government. So I'd say probably about 3 or 4 years ago, small business owners are now able to buy group health insurance without offering it to their employees. That's a big step for small business owners. And the reason why is because in most industries and most areas, individual health insurance is way more costly now than buying a small business health insurance plan. And that flip-flopped about 2 or 3 years ago, which gave business owners way more choices than what they'd had before by looking at, their 2 or 3 options on the individual market. So it's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So let's talk in terms of small business. Like you said, small businesses have these unique hurdles where it's, until you get to a point to where you can afford coverage, typically one of 2 scenarios happens. Either first we reach this point to where maybe the owner can afford to have their coverage for themselves, but maybe not quite yet for the employees. So let's speak to that situation and what the options are for that.
Actually, that's my main target right now. So I did 4 of them this week. So I'll give you a couple examples. Went to a law firm. Actually, it was a law firm. The owner himself is actually on Medicare. So he didn't need group health insurance. His secretary needed group health insurance. She was paying about $850 a month for a $7,900 deductible on an individual plan. We were able to get a group plan set up. with one person participating, which is okay because there's no minimum participation rate anymore, or minimum contribution on the employer's half.
That's
so
huge.
The employer does not have to put money. Yeah, the employer does not have to contribute to their employees' benefits, but we saved her over $200 a month and got her a lower deductible. And she had thousands of choices to pick from rather than, the 5 or 6 that were available in her county.
Yes.
It's a big deal. So, yeah.
So that was at no cost to the firm. All it was savings
no cost
for
to the
her.
firm.
Right.
Savings
and then,
for her.
So also
so she was able to stay with the employer.
Right. That's amazing. So talk a little bit about, I kind of touched on it, but I want to make sure I explained it right, because I feel like this is important for people to know the difference between choosing a company versus someone like yourself who has maybe a little bit more variety to offer. Explain that maybe a little bit better than I did.
Okay, yeah, you explained it really well. So I always say, and it's kind of funny, I say, I'm not married to any carrier. So I represent 120 companies. So I don't care if it's Humana or Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or Cigna or United Healthcare, et cetera. You've got to figure out what's best for the client. Now, just because we're looking at a major medical plan, for someone, then, if they want to add dental or vision or disability or life or whatever benefits they want to put in their, business, within their business, we don't have to stay with the same carrier for that either. You're going to actually end up shopping. It's like a shopping cart, like, I want Blue Cross for this. I want Cigna for this. I want Aetna for this. I want IMED for this. And that's okay. So you got to make sure whatever we pick and we choose, it works for that person. And the other thing, flip side of that, is if they are looking for benefits for their employee, and they don't have to, but they can offer it, like I said, that person doesn't even have to go with the same plan. It opens up a huge, huge opportunity for everybody. So there's a lot more choices for everybody. We can do up to 6 different options for a small business owner.
Within the same group plan, up to 6 different options?
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. So, just last week I saw a conversation happening around health insurance, and they just didn't know where to get started. They had no idea who to reach out to or what questions to ask. If you were advising a client on, let's say that somebody called you and they're like, hey, I'm just shopping around. I'm not, dedicated to you even in particularly. Give me some generic information on what I should know and be equipped with as a business owner. How would you answer that?
So, yes. And actually the thing is a lot of agents, I would say, is old school way of thought. They're working with larger companies, a lot of big business. Those group plans are different and to have different set of laws than a small business owner has. Okay. And I'll give you another example of that. I ran into a doctor's office last week, wrote them on a small group. They were actually declined from getting a group plan because the agent actually put them in and underwrote them as a large group rather than a small group. Small groups aren't underwritten anymore. Large groups are. So you want to make sure whoever you talk to understands that the small business side of health insurance, when I say small business, 50 or less employees, okay, rather than large business. So it's very, very important when you're sitting down with someone that they understand the laws for small business health insurance rather than large business health insurance, because they're 2 different ways to insure. So when reaching out, obviously, I'm an advocate, obviously, of Health Markets Insurance Agency, my agency. We are in every state in the United States, so that's a good thing. We're trained on this, and we do a lot of trainings on this. We actually just did a training on it again because they keep us updated. But our focus is small business, so we don't even deal with large business. But it is a different set of law.
That's definitely our audience too. So this is very applicable. Now, I'm curious if we could talk a moment about, I like the idea that you brought up. So sometimes we can think as small business owners that this is going to cost me so much money, right, to be able to offer my employees health insurance. But you're saying there's a way to set it up to where it doesn't cost the employer anything, and it's more flexible. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it used to be unless you had a certain number of people interested, you couldn't offer it because of that group rule. And it was a minimum of 7 people or somewhere around there.
50%. Yeah, it was 50%. Yeah. So that rule went out the door for small business owners again. Again, I want to say 50 or less employees. So now what it is if you have 49 employees and one person benefits from going on a group, that is okay. We can set up a group health plan for one person. It's fine. But the employer does not have to contribute to the employee benefits. They can have it on the table and say, hey, I've got a Blue Cross plan here, I have an Aetna plan here, I have a United Healthcare plan. It's available to you, but as an employer, I'm not contributing even $1 towards that. That's okay. So having it available, but a lot of times, again, having a group plan available for your employees is less expensive than them going out and buying an individual plan in the market because the rates are less expensive and there's more choices.
So the employees are still benefiting, even though the employer is not contributing. Okay,
Exactly.
so let's talk about if they want to contribute. What does that process look like when you have a discussion with a business owner and you're like, okay, let's figure out how much you can contribute, how much you want to contribute. And I think it's important to point out that a lot of times when small businesses go to offer health insurance, I think it's sometimes surprising how many people don't take advantage of it because they have a spouse who already has really good rates. And so it's not even, on the employer's plate.
Right.
And it's, yeah.
Exactly. So small businesses, again, they have different rules. So they have it available, but if the employer wants to contribute, I mean, they can contribute 5%, 10%, 20%. They can contribute up to 100% if they want. They can make that choice. But they need to do it for everybody. So if they're going to say, I'm going to contribute 10%, then you contribute 10% for everybody. If you're going to contribute 20%, you contribute 20%. But again, there's no minimum contribution on the employer side. Once again, there used to be, but there no longer is. So the nice thing is, as the employer grows, their business grows, or they accumulate, they're more successful in their business. If they want to start off with, let's say like, you know what, I'm going to give everybody 25%. Okay. Next year, if they want to change it to 30, that's okay. They can do that.
That's good to know. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go back because I think we moved on past it a little bit. Let's go back to the scenario where maybe a small business owner wants to set up a health insurance plan for themselves, but not be obligated to offer it to everyone. What does that look like?
Okay. So once again, they don't have to offer it. Just because it's available doesn't mean they're offering it. So those words are kind of tricky. So for example, again, I'll go back to the doctor's office I just set up this last week. He has one employee, so there's only 2 people in the office. I set up the group plan for him because it benefits him. It did not benefit his secretary. She didn't want it. She doesn't have to have it, but it's available for her if she ever chooses to go on it. But again, just because it's available, he does not have to contribute towards her premium.
Okay.
It's available for her. If she wants to look at the rate that's available, she can buy it if she wants through the group, but he doesn't have to contribute anything towards it.
Okay. And so here's what I was trying to get at. There is an option out there, and I believe you and I have discussed this before, where it is more of a reimbursement situation as opposed to a direct plan. Does that ring a bell? Where it's a reimbursement for health insurance. It's like a set reimbursement as opposed to a contribution. Is that right? Am I thinking right?
Like if the employer wants to contribute $100 per month per employee or something like that is.
Yes.
Yeah, your employers can do that as well. They can do a set contribution as well. They don't have to do a percentage. So that's available as well.
Okay. But that's also with a group.
And that's actually part of all the paperwork too. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So let's say, what's the setup process? So for someone that's saying, okay, I don't even know where to get started. So, all right, we have this conversation and you figure out what they can afford, what their priorities are, like if it's employee retention or, just being able to offer it. What is the timeline like? What does that setup process look like? How can we prepare people to go through this whole journey of getting health insurance into their small business?
So, I mean, I've just gotten better at it, so I'm a little more efficient. But the first time, it's just it's an initial, meeting, just like this. You sit down, you find out exactly what you're talking about. Is it because you want from employee retention? Is it because you and your family are paying, $2,000 on an individual plan, but I can get, a group plan for $1,000? Is it, tax because you want to write it off the business? Because if you got a group health plan, it's a business expense rather than an individual, which is not. So whatever the reason is, you find out that. So you do a complete needs analysis. Once you're done with that, because for me, it's just a program I put in. It's 5 minutes to get a quote, literally. So once I get quotes, then we kind of determine again what plan's better for them. If it's a financial thing, if it's a network thing, if it's because I go to Florida in the winter and I'm in Illinois in the summer, whatever it is, then you find the plan that best fits them. But there's thousands of plans to pick from rather than a few. So, but I'm pretty good with the carriers, here, at least here in Illinois, I'm pretty good with the carriers as far as figuring out which plan would be better for that client. But then it's just simple paperwork, and that's all electronic. So that takes me about 10 or 15 minutes.
So within a week, they could have something set up.
Yeah. That's my goal for turnaround. Once I get the needs analysis done, that's the hardest part. That takes the longest. It's sitting down and having a conversation with someone for whether it's a half hour or 3 hours. Once that's done, then it takes me 10, like I said, 5-10 minutes to get quotes together, and then paperwork's 10 to 15 minutes. But that's a separate, then we meet back up and get that done.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else, but this is starting to sound less overwhelming when you talk about setting up a plan in less than a week with no direct or cost to the employer. That's just so different than what we're hearing about, that what we've heard about in the past with health insurance. I feel like this is such a great opportunity in this point in time for, business owners to capitalize on this.
I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, I wish I could tell every small business owner, that I know or that I don't know, hey, if you're buying individual health insurance and it's expensive, which a lot of ours are, let's look at a group plan. And people just think, again, it's old way of school of thought is no, because then I have to give it to my employees and I have to, have minimum participation and I have to contribute. Those rules are all outdoor right now.
Perfect. So here's a question then. What about spouses and kids of employees?
Yeah, they can put them on there. You can put anybody. You can add dependents on there.
And the business can contribute
if they want to. Again, they're not obligated to contribute at all. But if they want to contribute to dependents, they can.
Okay. And the reason I ask, like me personally, we tried to see about getting onto my husband's insurance. And for him, it was very affordable. But then you stick us on there and it was no longer beneficial. We might as well just stay separate. So You're saying that was a choice that the employer made, but you don't have to do it that way.
Correct. But again, I don't know the size of your husband's employer. So the larger businesses have different sense of law than smaller business. And I'm just, speaking of 50 or less again. So we're going to make sure that's clear.
And that was probably the case. So do the spouses and kids get access to that lower rate still though? Does it still fall under the same rate type?
Yeah, it's still the same rate type. So, but it's a lower rate. To me, I'm just comparing it to an individual plan. So like, for example, in our area, in central Illinois, if you go and buy health insurance for a child, just let's say somebody under 18, you're going to pay anywhere from $250 to $450 a month on an individual plan. If the parent has access to a small group, that rate is going to go from anywhere from $150 to $350. So you see that, and when I give you that range, it's because you can go with a $0 deductible plan or a $8,000 deductible plan. So, but you're going to save. Usually what I see is about a 30% savings from group to individual. And I see that over and over and over. I just actually met with another one of a licensed insurance agent that didn't know about this. I put him on a group last year because him and his wife wanted to have a child, but they were buying individual insurance. Their rates were really expensive, and their max out of pocket was the $7,900 standard deductible set by the federal government. I put him on a $0 deductible plan through a group. He added his wife. Now he added his child. They actually ended up having $150 out of pocket net to have the child, and the rates just went down this year. And he was like, are you serious? And I said, yep. So we had actually a rate decrease.
That's like unheard of, right?
Right.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Let's see. What?
No, I don't think they'll ever buy an individual plan again.
I don't think so. No, not at all. Okay. What are some things maybe to watch out for? So if we've got some viewers out there that are talking to different people and looking at making this decision and getting the ball rolling, what are some things that they should watch out for?
Well, and I'll go back to the example of that doctor's office I just wrote, that he actually thought he could get declined for health insurance. Well, he was going full underwriting on the group, just like a large group would do. And so because of that, he had to answer health questions. So, and they were pertaining to a heart, obviously. So he got declined. Small businesses cannot be declined from getting group health insurance. Okay. So the paperwork was set up wrong by the agent. So you got to make sure that you do not have to answer underwriting questions for small group.
Okay, so be careful.
I would watch out for that. So once they start asking you those questions, they probably either don't know what they're offering you, or maybe they're not offering you health insurance. Maybe it's not the Affordable Care Act standardized, health insurance.
Right. So there's no physicals or doctor's visits to qualify. They should not be asking you specific questions about the health conditions of you or your team.
Nope. Unless there is an exception to that. Some of the carriers have what they call like a self-insured basket. Unions use it a lot. If you want to get a better rate than the standard rate, they can ask you health questions to at least get the better rate, but they still can't deny you.
Got it. Now, can that backfire? And
no,
their rate could go above?
You just go back to the standard rate.
Okay. Well, that's...
Or you just don't take that plan. You say, well, that's not the option I want, if you're shopping around.
So there's another conversation that we had, and I want to just bring it to light a little bit. There is a health, maybe it's a reimbursement plan, where it's almost like an employer managed, if you will, HSA equivalent.
Yes.
Can you speak to that and maybe who that might benefit?
Yeah, HRA, health reimbursement account. So, HSAs and HRAs are pretty similar, but a health reimbursement account is where either the employee or the employer contributes to this dollar amount, or both of them do, but they have to use that bucket of money, and it's pre-tax, but they have to use that bucket of money by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. An HSA is similar, where, it's pre-tax dollars. You put money into an account, again, the employee and employer, or either one or the other contributor, both, that rolls into the following year. And you can use that for medical expenses. So you can look at both. But usually larger groups do the HRA and the smaller groups look at HSAs, just because of the numbers of people participating, but both are available too. Okay. And then you can keep your premiums down if you do that, because you can go with higher deductible plans and you're still saving money. Even if let's say the employer says, well, I'm going to put $50, or the employee, $50 a month into this HRA or HSA account, but I'm saving $150 a month in premiums. It's a win-win that way too. So there's lots of different things you can do. So a mix of both. Mm-hmm. Okay, so pre-tax dollars. What are some other benefits to going the HRA or the HSA route? From an employee standpoint and from an employer standpoint, because employers are going to be looking to offer benefits that are good for the employee, but also maybe create, some business advantages too. Exactly. So obviously it's tax deduction. So anything the lower taxable incomes, you just pay less taxes to the federal government. So obviously that's a benefit. But again, as far as premiums go, if you do an HSA or an HRA, you can take a lower premium plan with a higher deductible and offset it by putting money into a savings account. So if you end up having a deductible to meet that year, you can take the money out of that account. If you don't, then it rolls into the next year and you just saved a ton of money. On taxes and on insurance premiums. So, and that overtime savings can go towards a deductible if you need it
to be. If something happens and that deductible becomes due, you've already been saving for it. And an HRA expires at the end of the year, you lose what you don't use, whereas an HSA continues to pile year over year.
Yep. And it works similar to an IRA. So once you retire, you can use it for medical expenses that way, but you don't pay taxes on it. It's nice. Non-tax dollars.
Pre-tax and not taxed when you use it.
Mm-hmm.
We call that a rarity where I'm from. All right, awesome. This is such good information. Is there anything else that you think would be of value to our viewers as business owners, or in terms of, helping, again, keep good people on their team through offering the benefit of health and dental and this type of benefit?
Yeah, just once again, I just want to reiterate, if you own a small business and you have at least one employee, you should definitely look into group health, even if you can only afford it for yourself and not your employee, because your employee still might say, well, I'll pay for mine. And then, like I said, as time goes on, maybe you can contribute at some point if you want to, but it's so advantageous to look at it, because you'll be very shocked to see that it's probably a lot less expensive than what you're buying as far as an individual plan goes.
What you're already paying.
Then you're already paying it, and you're not getting it right off the business, because individual insurance is no longer a tax deduction.
Right.
Affordable Care Act.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Guys, I want to make sure that you know how to get in touch with Pam. So I am going to share my screen here real quick with everyone. So here we've got Pam's LinkedIn, so she can be reached on LinkedIn under Pamela Beaton. There's her beautiful face. So when you see it, you know it's her.
I had a lot more hair then.
She's got a Facebook page, Health Markets / Pamela S. Beaton, where you can reach out to her. And then this really handy website of hers where you can schedule appointments online, very easy to use. Way to get a hold of her, you can give her a call at 309-336-1230. Again, she's got almost 17 years in here, guys. So definitely a super valuable resource to tap into. So Pam, I want to thank you so much for being with us today and coming and sharing this wealth of information. And I'm absolutely sure that people are going to get value out of this.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.